us one more time and again at Safe Space Talks. And, you know, it's Mental Health Month awareness. And I want to send out a shout out. May 2nd, which was yesterday for us in 1963, marked 60 years since more than 4,000 Black students walked out of school at exactly 11 o'clock. They marched for justice. They were singing freedom songs, and it sparked a week of demonstrations and rioting that shocked the nations. Now, most of you've seen that video where people were being hosed down. It was because of these students that walked out that caused the riots and the additional marching for the nations, for freedom, for justice. So, can you imagine being beat, put in jail, in the hospital? What that has a what effect it has on someone's mental health and psyche. So I want to say thank you to all those who participated in the Birmingham, Alabama school walkout. Now I wanted to note that because we are celebrating mental health, and sometimes you have to know the root of the matter, right? And that's what we do here. We don't just talk about mental health. We want to talk about the root. So that could be one of the roots, right? Those students who are now traumatized or suffered the lasting effects of their response to fighting for justice, and they may not even know, and then it creeps on you later. So again, salute. And we have professionals on this line. We have Dr. Latoya, we have Dr. Sharmi, we have Dr. Heather. And again, I always say this is educational, but please seek help. You can always contact us at safespacetalks@gmail.com. And today we're going to talk about mood disorders. Now, I personally am an advocate for mental health and have suffered a mental health crisis. And by the grace of God, I've been victorious. I'm sound and in my right mind. And so it's always my pleasure and all of our pleasure and honor to bring to you victory stories and what you can do to catch the signs and get help. So again, mood disorders, the effects of that, it can be depression, bipolar, sleeplessness, manic, um, and that those are the things we're going to discuss today. So, without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic to Dr. Latoya.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world. We welcome you today. I'm Latoya, and today we are going to be talking about mood disorders, like Nigeria said. And so, for the month of May, we're going to be bringing you different conditions that we want to discuss and bring light to, and just in light of Mental Health Awareness Month. So, bringing you some information that you can use in your own life and that you can also be able to use in your communities and with your family. And so, again, our disclaimer: we are medical professionals, but we're not your medical professional. So we're not diagnosing you, we're not treating you. And we do recommend, highly recommend, that if you are experiencing any of these things that we talk about, and even things that we're not talking about, that you definitely see your local provider. And if you're having any suicidal thoughts, definitely contact the suicide line, which is in the bottom of the screen. And so, without further delay, mood disorders. We always hear about mood. People talk about that, but what is a mood? When someone says my mood is off, what are we
Right.
talking about? And so, our mood is defined as a pervasive or sustained feeling or tone that is endured internally. And so it impacts nearly all aspects of a person's behavior and external world. Our mood includes our happiness, our sadness, our optimism, our pessimism, our contentment or dissatisfaction with our environment or life, right? Our mood can be likened to our emotional temperature, as an author puts it. And so, mood disorders that we're going to be talking about today are five of them, five of the most common ones we're going to be discussing. We're going to talk about depression. We're going to talk about or major depressive disorder, dysthymic disorder, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and bipolar disorder and cyclothymic disorder. Now, this is not encompassing all of them, but we're going to talk about the most common, and we're going to talk about signs and symptoms, kind of causes, our treatment recommendations. That we think that research shows that are effective in treating these conditions, but again, we're not diagnosing and we're not treating you. And so we want to talk about major depressive disorder first. Right, major depressive disorder is a prolonged or persistent period of extreme sadness. So over 2 weeks, right, a person would have extreme sadness. And so if you want to remember signs and symptoms of depression, you can remember the mnemonic SIGGY caps. And so a person is going to have sleep changes. A person could sleep too much, right, or not sleep at all. So you could be laying up at night, mind just kind of going, can't seem to sleep, can't rest, or all they want to do is sleep. Okay, and then you also will have a lack of interest in doing things. Some people call it anhedonia, but just to make sure that we put it in plain terms, just a lack of interest. You don't want to do anything. You don't want to go anywhere. Your friends call you up, hey, let's go out. I don't feel like going. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to go to school. It's just like a depressiveness in your body where you really don't want to do these things or you don't have an interest in them at all. And then sometimes people can feel guilt, right? That's what the comes in play, feeling guilt or worthlessness. Some people just have that inward expression of feeling guilty for not necessarily for any reason in particular, but they just feel a sense of guilt or worthlessness. And then there's lack of energy or fatigue, struggling with not just the motivation to do things, but just feeling tired, feeling like you tapped out, right? And then the concentration can be affected, difficulty concentration and focusing. Doesn't mean you have ADHD. Sometimes it could be depression
Mm, that's
where
good.
you can't focus on anything. So oftentimes I have people come into the office and they really think that they have ADHD because we love Dr. Google. We go on there and we look up and we put in our symptoms like, oh man, I got ADHD.
Right.
Maybe not. It could be depression. And so it reduces cognition. People have difficulty concentrating. And then appetite. Appetite can be increased or your appetite can be decreased. Sometimes people stress eat, right? And
Yeah.
then sometimes
Yeah.
people push away from food and just don't have an appetite when they're upset. And then another one, the P, psychomotor agitation or retardation. And so sometimes people just feel that agitation in their body or that anxiety, or they feel just lethargic in their physical body. And then of course the S is suicidal or homicidal ideations. So people just have thoughts of suicide. I don't want to be here. If I could just close my eyes and go to sleep and not wake up, I'll be okay with that. Those types of thoughts coming into your mind. And so having these symptoms for a period over 2 weeks, a person may be diagnosed with major depressive disorder.
Right.
All right. And so I'll let some other of our panel discuss some of the other conditions. I don't want to talk too much.
Pass the mic to who?
Dr. A.
So Dr. Sharmi, Dr. Heather.
Okay.
Well, hello. It is so good to be back. I just missed you guys. Um, and just as Dr. Latoya was talking, just concerning major depressive disorder, I'm going to talk about dysthymic disorder, and what that is just a persistent depressive disorder. When we talk disorders, we look at frequency, duration, and onset, right? And so, what causes it to be dysthymic? It means that it is persistent, which means that the mood is less than 2 years. Now, as she discussed, major depression, you're moving in time of 2 weeks. So we're going 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. But when we look at dysthymic, you have been having these depressed moods for a period of time over 2 weeks. So you've done it 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and now we're into 2 years. And so
Mhm.
that's what causes us to say that you have a dysthymic. Now, what dysthymic does is it looks at two symptoms, and these could be some symptoms that you could be experiencing. But please note that there are so many other things that you experience in life that could cause some of these as well. But
Mm-hmm.
when we are talking about this particular disorder, it is sometimes individuals overeat, or you could have poor appetite. Some of the other things is that you sleep too much or you don't sleep enough. And I don't know, depending on your work schedules, just even all the ladies that are on the line now, I know that there have been moments because of things that are going on that you may sleep more or you may sleep less. Your self esteem is compromised, right? Your self esteem could be low. And we know that definitely depending on, as it, even with women, when you are menstruating, right? Sometimes you go through these different mood changes because of hormones that are being released in your body.
Yeah.
So sometimes you feel a way. You look at yourself in the mirror, and sometimes you just don't feel good about yourself. So it could be poor self-esteem. But again, we're talking you've been feeling this way for a period of 2 years. Trouble concentrating or making decisions, those things are important as well. So if you're experiencing some concentration issues or having problems at work, being sound on your decisions, kind of wavering, going back and forth, something to consider. Hopelessness, I love this word. What I tell individuals when we're talking about the word hopelessness, what that means is it is an unfulfilled expectation. That's what it is. When you're feeling hopeless, it is a frustration and it is connected from something that is unfulfilled. And so we know that when individuals even experience some of these adjustments or things that are happening in life, they can feel at times periods of hopelessness. But again, I'm going to go back to continue to say we're talking that these are 2 years you've been experiencing this. Then we have where you just have symptoms that are unclear. You know how sometimes you just wake up and you just like, I don't feel good. I just really don't know what's going on. If you are having these experiences for 2 months at a time, this could be something that you are experiencing. What I want to say in terms of when we are looking at something that is prolonged and then something that is just persistent, um, I want to make sure that if you are experiencing any of these things, that you definitely want to go and talk to your primary doctor. At that moment, they can make a couple of choices. If they see that there is some continuity to what is happening, they could refer you out to speak with someone so that they will be able to dig a little bit deeper. But one of the biggest things that we have to understand or recognize when we are trying to determine these mood disorders is our duration and onset. And those things are important because individuals experience so many different levels of life stressors. And so when life stressors have not been dealt with, or life stressors have not been challenged, then what happens is we then move into some of these things, such as the dysthymic or some of those major depressive disorders, because you haven't spoken to someone to begin to unpack any of the issues that you're dealing with. And that's what causes these um, different situations in your life to become something of major, or something that's prolonged, or something that is persistent. So these are things that are important for you guys to definitely um, consider when you are even thinking about uh, if you're dealing with a mood disorder.
Yeah, that's good. One of the things that I want to touch on, is the concepts of what many will call bipolar, if you will, that disorder. And reason being because I've known several individuals who have dealt with that particular disorder from a personal level, and not only that, but I've also seen them be healed as well. See. And one of the things that I believe that we have to take note of is that even if you, like, I love what Dr. Heather said, that, and Dr. Latoya, just the whole concept of many people may feel like if you go research Google, I love Google, so don't do Google, Dr. Latoya. Because I love me some Google, auntie. But anyway, but I do get what she's saying is people go and they read stuff and then they begin to diagnose
Mhm.
themselves and not necessarily go and see a health professional like Dr. Heather was talking about. We want you to see those in your community because we want you to reach out for help. But even when we're talking about the bipolar disorder, one of the things that we have to know that it was also called at one point manic depressive,
Right.
right? Because even when they diagnosed my mom when she was in the land of the living, she was diagnosed with schizophrenic manic depressive,
Mhm.
right? And so that's what they diagnosed her with. That's too much going on. Trust me, y'all. It was too much. It was absolutely too much going on.
Mhm.
All right. But nonetheless, that's what her diagnosis was. Okay. And so when you thought about it, you also saw her reenacting those concepts, because when you're thinking about manic, then you have to think about the highs, the how people they just shift their mood, their energy. They can be lit. Like, trust me, she used to be lit. Okay. Like, it was just one of those things where
Mhm.
you saw all of this energy level just go here, and then next thing you know, it's a low. And
Mhm.
it's like, okay, that ain't normal, right? But then we have so many people in today's society that literally deal with those same dynamics,
Mhm.
right? Have many people who have never even been diagnosed. Many people don't even know what's going on with them, right? They don't even understand that it's not normal really to go from one extreme to the next extreme.
Right. Right.
Not normal, right?
Mhm.
It's really not normal. But you have so many people out here that are dealing with these concepts, and they say, like, you got that, they have bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 and all these particular things. And it's like, I know we be like, okay, like, it's just too much. They always trying to diagnose people, that's just some people, man. You always trying. But the truth is, these realities are literally happen to so many of us. So
Right.
many of us are experiencing these particular dynamics in life. And so when we think about it, like with bipolar 1, they say, well, if you're experiencing this for more than 2 weeks or something to that notion. But I would like to say, when you're dealing with any type of what we would call mental health issue, right? Something with your mental health, it's imperative that you do go and seek out help. That's the whole dynamic. You need to seek out help, right? If you find yourself in those magnitudes where you go into these highs, and then you, like, really, when I say low, I mean like low. I mean like low to the point where you're not getting out of bed. Low
Mhm.
to the point where, all of a sudden there is just no energy. You don't have energy. You just want to stay, by yourself. You want to isolate. You want to do all these things. You're sleeping. You're not coming out your room. That None of that's normal. Okay. We don't even want to give off the notion that, oh, it's okay to isolate yourself. Isolation is not good. I don't care what nobody told you. See, because when you isolate yourself, if your mind is already disarrayed, that means that you got something talking to you, and you need something else in your ear besides your
That's
thoughts.
good.
Okay. People tell you that isolation, well, sometimes you just need to be
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah.
Well, you need to know when you do
That's
need to be alone.
good right
And
there.
you need to know when you don't need to
Yeah.
be alone. Okay.
Yeah.
And many people don't know when they should not be alone.
Right.
Well, we're here to help you. And we're here to say to you, well, if you are experiencing any of these dynamics that we're talking about, you don't need to be alone.
Mhm.
Being isolated is not your friend right now. Actually, you're doing more harm to yourself than you're doing good. The first thing is, well, I just don't want to be bothered with nobody. I just need time by myself. Red flags.
Mhm.
All of those, I don't care what people have told you, all of those things are red flags. It ain't no such thing. Listen, I ain't gonna even go scripture on y'all. But
Come
anyway, let
on. Come
You
on.
say, well, listen, the Bible says that God didn't create us to be alone to begin with.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So loneliness is not the end thing.
Right.
Being alone, that's not the
That's right.
end thing. God created us to communicate with each other. He created us to have, that individual besides, oh, I just like being by myself. Sir, ma'am, that is not the truth.
Right.
You may have set that up to be your truth.
That's good.
Nobody wants to just be by themselves. Okay, you will begin to feel the effects of being by yourself,
Mhm.
and they're not good effects.
Right.
And so some of these dynamics that we are going to touch on, even that we're touching on now, it has to do with the concept of just bringing yourself to a place where you learn how to govern your emotional state,
Mhm.
right? And so, how do we learn how to even be people that we govern our emotions? Because when you're thinking about this whole concept, like I said, you with the bipolar, you got the elevated mood, then you got irritability, then you got all of these
Mhm.
periods of extremes, like you just extreme,
Mhm.
and then next thing you know, you go to this just well, I don't want to be. That's not normal.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
And if anybody ever told you it was, or if you think it's normal yourself, we want you to seek out help because it's not a normal situation. And
Yeah.
so, but I love the fact that even though people deal with so many different illnesses when it comes to their mental state, right? And
Mhm.
some people don't even know that they're dealing with it. I love the fact that there is healing.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I love the healing dynamics
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah.
right? I love doctors. I love psychologists. I mean, we got some on the line. I love therapists. I love psychiatrists. I love all these people because God has given them to us for a remedy. But guess what? They are not the final go to for me. They're just not, because I understand and know that God created us to. I mean, see, they told me don't. I'm okay. Nigeria told me to go
Go
Bible. I'm
go.
trying to go Bible because I want to stay focused. Okay, but listen, we are bad human beings. Like God created us with the ability to really heal
That's
ourselves.
true.
Yeah.
I'm not lying. Like we have what it takes on the inside of us to really come into a dynamic of healing that we need, like seriously.
Mhm.
But because life so much in itself just consumes us,
Mhm.
so many people are consumed just by life.
Yeah.
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 Life will consume you if you will allow life to consume you,
Yeah.
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
And so I love the dynamic, though, that even though we're talking about all of these things that we're going to be talking about when it comes to mental health, right? There's also a balm in Gilead,
Come
Come
right?
on.
on.
Come
You
That's
on.
right.
can be
That's
healed.
right.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, I make no apologies about
Don't
it,
do
but I'm
it.
sorry you may don't know it, but you can be healed and set free and really delivered.
Mhm.
Like I'm not just saying that.
Right.
Right.
I'm not just somebody that gets on here and talk about mental illness. I saw a psychiatrist, right? I saw you. I mean, come on. I literally seen a psychiatrist. I really did, right? I went to therapy. I did all of these things, right? But at the end of the day, they were not my
That's
healers.
That's
good.
right.
All they can do was tell me how to function in
That's
life
good.
with medication, with my mental instability. Well, the devil was a liar.
Mhm.
And I'm saying that to you. Yes, because you may go through things. And yes, I believe people need medicine to stabilize them. I I believe it.
Mhm.
You need medication to stabilize you if that's what you are in need of. If that's your journey, do it. Some people need that medicine to bring them, calm them down, right? To get them to
Mhm.
a place where they can really be
Right.
functional. So many people need that,
Mhm.
right?
Christians
So I'm not
included.
against it. Do you hear
Yeah.
Yeah.
me? I'm not against it at all. But listen, I tell you that there is hope at the medication,
Yeah.
honey.
That's
Do you
good.
understand that? Hope at the medication. Catch that part. There's hope at the
Yeah.
medication. And you need to expect your healing.
Come
It
on
doesn't
now.
Mhm.
matter. But first off, and I'm going to pass the mic, but first off, one of the things that we need to understand is I can't get healed from something that I
Don't.
keep denying.
Yeah.
That's
or
good.
I can't get healed from something that I don't even know it's an issue for me.
Right.
Mhm.
I don't care because somebody told you, oh, if you have not accepted the fact that this is going on with your life, they can tell you, oh, this all day long, but you have to understand that this is something that I'm going
Yeah.
through. And once you agree with just the fact that, yes, they said it, or this is what's happening, now you have begun on your journey to healing.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
That's it.
that's how the process works.
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't care what you heard. I'm telling you how it works.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Now you can hear all these other things from all these other people, and they can tell you and prophesy to you all this and that. But honey, first you got to recognize that you need to be healed before you get
That's
healed.
Right.
right.
Oh, let me
That's
pass
good.
this on.
Yeah.
Who
That's
going?
good.
Absolutely. I
I go.
love
I
it.
go. One of the other parts of mood disorder is the lack of social skills. So many
Mm.
of us grew up with that one kid that we always like, he's strange or she's strange. And we didn't know that they just had, they were dealing with a mental situation. And we joke and we'd be like, they crazy, they crazy. So what I love about what we're doing is that we're providing you with the information, the tools, the language, the signs, because we can no longer ignore that. Like
Mhm.
sometimes people's relationships break because you lack the understanding of what someone may be going through.
Yeah.
You don't recognize the signs. You
Mhm.
don't understand the signs. You don't understand when someone isolates. You don't understand the depression when they want to sleep all day. You don't understand the mania when they're high and they're low. So you're just, and you say it, this
Mhm.
person is so moody.
Yeah.
This is what you said. And actually they are
They
moody
are.
because they have a mood disorder,
Right.
you know.
Right.
And so we have to be equipped. We want to equip you at Safe Space Talks. We want to equip you so we can start the healing process, like
Mhm.
Dr. Sharmi said, Dr. Latoya, even in our family, even recognizing signs and stop fussing and cussing and
Mhm.
ignoring.
Mhm.
This is why we're at a mental health crisis, because we have ignored the signs so much. And COVID has revealed the great reveal of our mental instability, that
That's right.
now we have to take this serious. We have to
Mhm.
start saying, okay, ask the question, why are you acting like this? You know, ask the question, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
Ask the ask ask the question, what's going on? What are
Mhm.
you thinking about?
Right.
Right? And get true answers. Don't accept the, oh no, I'm all right. Oh no, I'm good. We always talking about our our strong friends, and I'm an advocate for protecting your strong friends, because
Mhm.
it's not until they break or fall, now you're like, oh my goodness, oh, but they were so this, or they didn't seem or appear, but you didn't ask, you didn't find out, or you saw the change in behavior, but you didn't recognize it to be anything except they're acting moody.
Right.
So when you see that,
Mhm.
I'm telling you now, sit, ask them a question. Stop saying, you acting all moody, I ain't gonna be your friend, I ain't calling you, and then here's a sign. You and your friend, y'all talk all the time, you text all the time, and then it starts to disintegrate. That could be a
Mhm.
sign that they're
Mhm.
going through something. When they normally call you back or text you, I'll call you back. These are signs. Someone who's always on time, now all of a sudden they're late all the time. These are signs, guys.
Mhm.
So make sure you pay attention to that. Okay. Pass the mic to Latoya.
All right. So we're going to just kind of run through a couple more of the mood disorders, some signs and symptoms, and then really get into some causes. And then, like, what are we going to do? Right. We need to be able to have some direction in treatments, and then also a little bit about the impact of life. So we already reviewed major depressive disorder. We went over dysthymic disorder, and then we also went over bipolar disorder. But one of the things that we wanted to touch on was PMDD, and so that happens a lot in women, right? Where people experience some of those depressive symptoms about a week before the onset of their menses. And so, yes, some people can be moody during, their period, but this is more extreme, right? When people really feel like that, just real labile in their mood, kind of can be similar in the state that, 1 minute you may be feeling up, 1 minute you may be feeling down, but not as extreme as bipolar disorder. But you may have some lability in your mood, and then feeling irritable, right? Snapping on people, somebody cut you off, you chasing them down in your car, that kind of situation. Feeling depressed or hopeless, right? Having that anxiety, right? Some people have like panic attacks before they start their period, and they don't have them any other time.
Right.
The lack of energy, but then you also have like that bloating. Sometimes you can have physical pain, you can have pain in your joints, you can have issues with your appetite as well. And so, um, it usually resolves though once you start your period. And so that's how you can determine, um, or your medical professional can determine exactly what diagnosis that you have. Just like Dr. Heather said, you want to look at the onset, right? And you want to look at the duration. And so if if it happens before your period, but then once your period starts, the symptoms dissipate, then you don't have like a major depressive disorder. It could
Right.
be PMDD. And
Right.
then also, the cyclothymic disorder. And so that's when people just kind of go up and down, up and down, up and down. It's a milder form of bipolar disorder. So where mania oftentimes lands people in trouble, right? Sometimes people they can become delusional. They oftentimes have to be admitted because they just team no sleep for days, right? About a week or sometimes longer without sleep. Cyclothymic disorder is not that extreme, but you do have those highs and lows, but you are a little bit more hypomanic. And so hypomania is the same type of symptoms where you can have that distractibility, you can be impulsive, you can have that inflated self-esteem, you can have the racing thoughts or the flight of ideas where you're going from topic to topic. Oh man, you watched the game last night, oh man, what you about to cook, oh man, did you see, and so they go and you like, dude, slow down, like I can't
Right.
keep up with you,
Right.
right? Or like I got to go and do something, like they can't be still. So sometimes they have like it's called like they're goal directed, they always have something to do. So sometimes it's social events, they're more outgoing, sometimes it's sexual, right? And then lack of sleep, they can function off 2 hours, they can function off no sleep. But when it comes to hypomania, typically you still sleeping some, you just not tired, so you can get by with sleeping 3 or 4 hours and you're fine. Whereas with mania, you might not sleep at all, or maybe like 1 or 2 and you're fine. And so with hypomania, it's only going to last a period of like 4 days versus a week or two. And so with cyclothymic disorder, you're experiencing more that hypomania and depressive symptoms kind of back and forth, and it's going on. So the symptoms don't clear for more than a month or 2 months at a time. So you may be feeling more at baseline, more normal, but then you go back to the ups and downs. And so they won't clear up for more than 2 months. And cyclothymic disorder can be hard. It can be hard on families, it can be hard on your finances, it can be hard on your work, it can be hard on lots of things. And so I'll have Dr. Heather talk about just the impact that these disorders have on life, and maybe some of the prevalences as well as the of these disorders. Oh, you muted. Is that me?
Okay, sorry about
There
that.
we go.
Yes. Listen, I love mood disorder, you guys. I love it. I love it. One of the things is when we're talking about these mood disorders, what I want to address is that it affects your ADLs. Your ADLs are your activities of daily living.
Living.
Mm-hmm.
It affects them big time. And even as Dr. Latoya was talking, I just was like, when you're talking about the cyclothymic, it's like a roller coaster. And
Mm,
I don't know if you have been with individuals or been in situations where every time you interact with that individual, it's on a roller coaster. Or people are like, oh my God, I'm always on an emotional high with you, right?
mm-hmm.
When people are saying I'm always on this emotional high, this means that there could be a possibility that you are experiencing these different levels of cyclothymic disorder, as she was indicating, because we're talking about they don't clear up. Like it just, it's almost like it's a part of your personality, right?
Right,
If
right,
you're
Mhm.
running
right.
this two
Mhm.
month, so when you think about it, it's like highs, lows, boom. You just moving up and
Mhm.
down the roller coaster. You go up, then you drop. You go back up, and you drop. And so it's important for you to understand those things. But the one thing that I definitely want to just kind of address, because Dr. Sharmi, she definitely talked about it. I love that she hit on that about the healing. And
Mhm.
so when we're talking about healing and individuals knowing that healing is there and available,
Yeah.
you have to be strategic about the healing. It
That's
is
good.
not anything that you just up and go, because I've been doing this for 22 years. So I have clients that they automatically say, I'm no longer taking my meds. And I'm like, you can't DC meds, you can't titrate without having a clear plan.
Listen.
You have to have a clear plan. So when you are thinking about wanting to not be on medication, because I've had clients that started off on 15 meds and they're on one. I have
Mhm.
clients that started off on 10 meds and they're on zero. So it is a possibility
Yeah.
that you can go from being on several meds to no meds to completely allowing God to heal you, but you
Mhm.
have to be ready for what happens as you journey through the process.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say that just stopping meds or not accepting, right, that you are dealing with something is not a good thing. It
Mhm.
is not a good thing, especially, not saying any disorders are any different from others, but especially when we're talking about mood disorders. And
Yeah.
I know we haven't necessarily hit up on schizophrenia or anything of that nature today, but when we're talking mood disorders, you have to be intentional on what happens, because in some mood disorders, there's levels of psychosis, which is why Dr. Sharmi said, listen, you cannot be alone, be isolated, because what happens is your thoughts begin to speak to you.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's important that the thoughts that you have, these thoughts don't just come. Let me be
Mhm.
clear about that. I
Mhm.
want to be able to give you guys just a little bit of language. We're not going real deep. But when we're talking about our thoughts and when we're talking about the bipolar and the voices that are sometimes speaking to you, the psychosis,
Mhm.
these thoughts, yes, ma'am, these thoughts have been embedded, encoded, right? They've
Mhm.
been introduced through things that you have seen in your eyes, whether it's through
Mhm.
television, your ear gates, what you heard. All of those things contribute to the voices that you hear in your mind.
That's good.
So you want to be intentional on, as you are journeying through a process of healing, that a whole lot of things needs to happen.
Mhm.
Number one, you have to have a secure team,
That's good.
because when you start to decrease from meds, there are things, and I know that Dr. Latoya can come in, but there are things that happens to your molecular structure, right?
Mhm.
Your bloodstream, your hormones that are released. So when you are beginning to titrate, which means you're
Mhm.
decreasing off of a medication, you
Mhm.
have to have people in place, because your diet needs to change. And I know we're
Mhm.
not talking about
Mhm.
diet right now,
No, but
but
it's true.
when you titrating, your
Yeah.
diet has to change.
Yeah.
There are specific things that you just can't eat, because
Mhm.
what it does is it triggers things on the
Right,
inside of your
right.
body. It
Mhm.
triggers your insulin. It
Mhm.
triggers your thyroid. It
Yep.
triggers all of these things. So then you're wondering why you're hearing voices. So when you are ready for the journey, you want to make sure that you have a good team in place. You need
Mhm.
to make sure you have holistic coaches. You need to make sure that you have a psychiatrist that you're working with. You want to make sure you're having your primary doctor, a
Mhm.
therapist, your pastor, whoever you're going to deal with. And these are for my individuals who are Christians, right?
Mhm.
Because as believers, we don't believe what the world believes.
Mm-hmm.
So our thought processes are totally different. So you want to make sure that you have the correct team in place as
That's
you are
good.
journeying through this process, because those physiological and biological factors are extremely important when you are
Mm-hmm.
journeying through that place of healing,
Mm-hmm.
wanting to begin to shift and change your perspective in your life.
That's good.
Yeah. Amen. So as we're wrapping this up, one of the things I love what everything that Dr. Heather just said, especially about going through your healing process, because we have to understand that she said it. You need a
That's
team.
right.
You need people that's around you. Number one, that's in agreement with the fact that you can be
That's
healed.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I'm just
right.
gonna say
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
because
that's
they didn't
important.
tell me
Yeah.
I could be healed.
Right.
They told me I'm finna show you how to just cope with this
Yeah.
illness that you have. So you have to have people that are also believing in that, and like Dr. Heather said, that are willing to be around you even when you begin to cycle back,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
there
Right.
is a cycling back,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Yeah.
And so just so you know, you will cycle back,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But you have to understand that these people that are around you,
They
they
got you.
know,
Yeah.
That's
then
it.
they got you.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so they're
Yeah. That's
undergirding you
Yeah.
and
key.
they're helping you
Yes.
to navigate through your process.
Right.
I love the fact that she said it's a journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not listen, it's just not gonna happen instantly. It's
Mm-hmm.
not an instantaneous
Yeah.
thing. You walk through a process,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to be willing to walk through that process, but know at the end of it is healing.
Yeah.
That's
That's
right.
it.
You have to be able
Yeah.
to understand that dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And she touched on it. Your diet is
That's
everything.
Yeah.
it.
Many of you are having all these issues anyway because of your
That's
poor
that
diet
part.
habits. I'm just gonna tell
And
you,
implement.
your body chemistry with these foods ain't coinciding with each other.
Yeah.
So that's why many of you are having all these mood swings anyway.
Yep.
If we gonna deal with it, but we'll deal with that on a different note. But your diet, you're gonna have to really recognize that just because you can, you shouldn't.
That's
Mhm.
right.
Good.
I mean, seriously,
Good.
just because I can don't mean I should.
Mm-hmm.
We
Right.
can do a lot of things, but that don't mean we should do them,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so we're going to be coming to you dealing with all of these particular issues. I promise you we are. But we have the U.S. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number down here. If you are an individual and you find yourself in any of the categories that we just briefly mentioned, we can take just on one of these, we can take hours on,
Mm-hmm.
okay? We really can. But because of the time and different things like that, and we just wanted to just come out here to just let you know we care.
That's right.
And we're concerned about people mental health and their overall well-being,
Yeah.
That's right.
because if your mental health is out in disorder, your life is in
That's
Mm-hmm.
disorder.
right.
And that's why we want to help you with all these disorderly things. So here's the prevention line. We got that on there. And also, hey, reach out to us. We are available.
That's
Like,
it.
seriously. We are available. You can reach us at safespacetalks@gmail.com, and just, hit us up, right? Message us, and you find anybody you want to connect with, Dr. Heather, Dr. Latoya, Nigeria, myself, just go on our Instagram, on our messenger, just hit us up, shoot us a message. We would love to just
That's right.
talk with you and just be able to be some source of help if we can for you, right? Because that's what we're all about. But again, we thank you so much for tuning in
Yeah.
and joining us for this episode of Safe Space Talks, as we talk and discuss mood disorders. We will be back next Wednesday, and also on Mondays. Look for us as
Yeah.
well. God bless you and have a great rest of your day.